let's talk about Miles. Could you talk about association with Miles Davis? How did you meet him for the first time?
He was backstage, and I was backstage probably somewhere with Lenny White, Grossman, Dave Holland, that band. When Steve just had joined the band, because Steve and I were buddies. So I said, "Let me, I'm gonna hang out." Yeah, I said, "Let me meet Miles." You know. So Miles was another one who, after a while, saw your face. He said, "What are you doing here?" He was a very smart guy. You know, he knew who he was and how to use who he was, for better or worse. Little gang. And this is another one like this. A phone call. I'm in my mother's. I'm staying in Brooklyn. Secretary gets up and says, "Is there David Liebman here?" I said, "Yes." He said, "There's a phone call for you. I think it's your mother." So, in front of everybody, you know. This is a doctor's office in downtown Brooklyn. What I was there for, who knows, you know. So, she says, somebody named Teo Machero called and said, "You gotta come to the studio now." I said, "Excuse me, Mom, would you say that again slow?" She said, Macharo, some shit like that.
Oh.
You know. I knew the story. I know when they started, because then Miles played in the morning. Sessions were 10 o'clock in the morning for the most part, and done by 11:30. Because Miles had the green light on all the time. No red light stopping, green light go. From the time he walked in the studio till he left, the green light was on. So they recorded everything he talked, everything he said. That's why these days you get another one. I didn't know he talked about the Nefertiti date, you know, and all that. So anyway, I knew that I better hurry up because it's going to be done. Because it's 10 to 1 the most. It might likely be 10 to 12. So I get there, I leave the car in the middle of Madison Avenue and 52nd Street. I go up, and in between the booths, you know, I see them. I think Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock, Larry Young, Billy Hart, DeJohnette. I mean, it was a cast of thousands. It was like a Cecil B. DeMille, you know, the Ten Commandments. It was like a massive, you know, collection of stars, of all young, you know. Except Zavino wasn't there, but others were there. And then he sees me in the class, looking in, and he goes, "Come on." He said, "So come on." So I come in, you know, nobody's talking. It's complete silence. There's 12, 13 people there. And nobody's talking. No, like, "Hey, man," you know, kid, "Oh, hey, man, that's a good take." You know, like this. And Jack, Miles is up on the drum riser, and he's singing to Jack something. I'm listening to him, like, "Jack," something like that. No way he knew what Jack goes, okay, you know. So then they start that first tune on the record, whatever it is, on the corner, whatever it is. And he goes like this.
Wow.
And there's one big mic in the middle of this is the Madison Avenue Studios. I mean, the mic is like big as this room. I mean, gigantic. Obviously, Miles' is a microphone. You know. He pushes me into the center, into the thing. He says, "Play." In other words, play. No talking. Play. I play, and I can tell you what I was thinking. If we put the record on now, I could almost give you a running biography. It's 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But I didn't know what key they were in. Everything's plugged. I mean, think about it. Electric piano, electric bass. You know, maybe one or two guys. It's like, but no, like E flats. You know, which I finally found 45 seconds into playing that this is, I guess, E flat concert. You know what I mean? So for the beginning of my solo, I'm actually leaving space. Probably I should have remembered that forever. It was leaving space because of accident, so I didn't know what to do. So then we finished the tune, and I'm standing there. He comes by. He would leave right after the session most of the time, as I learned. And he says, "Join my band." I said, "I can't do that. I'm playing with Elvin." He said, "Fuck Elvin." Typical Miles. Typical. He said, "Ah." So that was in June or May of '72, I think. Yeah, '72. So Miles comes down to the Vanguard Tuesday night. Miles Davis, Village Vanguard, talking to my old lady, like there's no tomorrow. And he's got to come with me. I'm playing the greatest shit in the world. He loved what he played. He always loved what he played. There was never anything else. It was just that, this is the best, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, so he's talking to my old lady, talking to me in the break, and Steve is there. They don't talk. I don't know why. Gene Pearl is there. Elvin Kahiko comes over to me. She says, "What's he doing here?" She hated him because him with women is not the greatest, you know. And so okay. So finally, he says, Wednesday night, he says, I want you to join my band. And I'm serious about it. I said, of course. I said, but I have to get the release from Elvin. He said, you talk to Elvin, you're gonna tell him to call me tonight. I'll be at 4 or 5 in the back in the morning. 4 or 5 in the morning. This is already 2 in the morning when we were talking about it. I live in Connecticut, in Greenwich. So I had, that was like a 45-minute hour ride. So I get home, phone rings, it's Miles. He says, you're with me. Next week he played a jazz workshop with Elvin, and then you're mine.
Wow.
He said, somebody will be in touch with you, sound guy, whatever. He said, tomorrow night we're playing the Fillmore. I want you there. That was Friday night of that week. So a lot of drama, and of course I remember it like it was yesterday. And I went in on Thursday night after they had their talk, I guess. I come in early, and Elvin is there at the bar, Vanguard. He says, he grabs me, and he used to get bear hugs. He was like a big bear, is what it was. He was like this, and he lifts me up. He says, if Miles Davis wants you, you got to go. And I was like, I was, yes, sir. He said, you'll finish with me next week, and then you'll go with him. And I'll miss you, Lee, but you got to move on. So that's how I got Miles.
What were your mentality or mindset when you were in his band?
Well, we weren't playing the music I wish we were playing. It's jazz. This was on the corner, get up with it, that style, in those years. Agatha, whatever it is. And I had to pinch myself because I really wish it would have been 10 years earlier, and I could have been like where Wayne was or George Coleman and played that kind of music. I mean, I think I was ready to do that. But it wasn't going to be. It's going to be with the wah-wah pedal, and everybody had 800 megawatts of Marshall amps behind them. I mean, I was plugged in. Couldn't even hear it when I was plugged in half the time. So I was a little bit, what's the word? I mean, I'm with Miles Davis at the top of the food chain for a horn player. I mean, there is no bigger gig than being in Miles Davis, especially as horn player, because it's Wayne and Joe. I mean, Wayne and John Coltrane, and name a few, So I knew I had a place in history, and I had to, wait. I wasn't a kid anymore. So I was 26, 27. And I remember, things that happened, things that were said to me by him and so forth, but I realized that I'm next to one of the greatest musicians who ever lived. So I really watched him, really. I studied him. He didn't do a move that I didn't expect. Just his body language, the way he led the band, cutting in and out. You see the other videos now. There was no more bebop where he walked off the stage. He was on the stage, he was conducting. That's what you see in those tapes from mid-70s. So I was a little bit, I wish, and then I was a little bit, holy shit, I'm with the greatest trumpet player or musician who ever lived. So let me see what the yin and yang about this is, So obviously it was a great honor, amazing honor, and an incredible learning experience. I can tell you that I think about him, I'm not going to say every night, but there are times when I think about him and what he would have done musically that I still relate to. 50 years since then.